Hey guys, this is Bobby Jones. I just wanted to let you know that for today's Flashback Monday, we're going to be re-airing our episode that was the most popular one from 2022. It was Michael Marsh, Living the Locum's Life. Enjoy.
In today's world, the best advertisement's word of mouth. And luckily, we've placed these guys and they've represented our company so well, and facilities see that. And then those CRNAs also talk to the other CRNAs there and their friends, and that helps us get more business. And also, us being a small firm, we're able to offer higher rates than the bigger companies, and we have a fraction of the margin that any of the large companies have in this industry.
Welcome to the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and I'm so excited that you're here. The Plan B CRNA podcast is the only show made specifically for nurse anesthetists who are exploring options outside of their traditional career paths. This is the place to expand your mind and your goals as we uncover new ways to produce side income together. Join me for some honest, unscripted discussions with other CRNAs who are transforming their financial lives. This episode is brought to you by On-Call Capital. On-Call Capital is dedicated to educating CRNAs and other healthcare providers about investing outside of the traditional stock market. On-Call Capital also provides opportunities for you, yes, you, to create passive income and generational wealth while also lowering your taxable income through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, make sure you do that right now so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks so much for joining me today. And now, on with the show. Welcome to another Provider Spotlight episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and my guest today has wasted no time flexing his business muscles in the world of anesthesia. Michael Marsh is a graduate of Arkansas State University with his MSN from the class of 2016 in anesthesia. He works full-time as a CRNA in Arkansas, as well as being a locum CRNA on the side. Michael is also the CEO of a CRNA-specific locums agency, CRNA Locum Jobs. He and his wife, Kayla, have two beautiful daughters, and he enjoys visiting the lake, hunting, and spending time with his family. Now, Michael noticed that many of his CRNA colleagues were looking for available job opportunities, and he wanted to start connecting them with facilities in need of that anesthesia coverage. That's what ultimately led him to start CRNA Locum Jobs. And it's really great to have you on the show today, Michael. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, Bobby, thanks for having me. It's always nice to hook up with another colleague and be on their side of their business.
Yeah. Well, with these episodes, I love to start just at the beginning. So I'd love to hear more about how you found your way into anesthesia.
Sure. Yeah. I kind of always knew I wanted to be a CRNA and go down that path. My mom was a nurse and kind of guided me down that path there, and started in college deciding what prereqs I needed, went to nursing school, got into the ICU, and worked my 2 years and got into CRNA school, and now I'm here.
Cool. So then I guess the question from there is, it's only been since 2016. So you've been working for, it'll be 6 years this upcoming May. How did you start finding the locum stuff on the side? What did that look like for you? When did you get started with that?
Sure. Yeah, that was probably 6 months to a year after I graduated. I was working at a big medical center where I still work here in Central Arkansas. And a lot of the shifts there are 312s, 410s. So a lot of those guys and girls that are CRNAs, they work and pick up days on the side. And I started kind of doing the same thing. But of course, there's only so many days in the week. So you'd have facilities, other CRNAs texting you, calling you saying, hey, can you cover this state? Can you cover this state? And my schedule was already booked. So I was like, no, but I do have a buddy that can, or I do know a CRNA that can. And the rates at the time, especially around Central Arkansas, just weren't great. And I knew we could do a lot better. So I decided to start a locum agency just for CRNAs. And decided to start CRNA Locum Jobs.
So you said your place wasn't necessarily paying enough, but you knew of other places like right around you that were.
Yeah. So locums in general, self-contracting as a CRNA, sometimes it's pretty difficult to get a good rate. for daily coverage, guaranteed coverage. And I had spoken with some other locums that actually had worked for bigger companies. And, it's kind of the same complaints that everybody has with locums and big companies. Well, they place the CRNA. The recruiters don't know much about anesthesia in general because they don't do anesthesia. And a lot of these places were taking pretty large margins from the CRNA. So I thought, well, I have the solution for that. I'm a CRNA. I know about anesthesia. I can answer all the questions that these guys might have about the facility. I can even hook them up with a CRNA at the facility or the chief CRNA, make them feel comfortable when they enter the door. And obviously, we can get them a much better rate than these large companies were paying.
Oh, that's cool. So it really was about taking care of your fellow colleagues. Like you had this network of people that were looking and hungry for something, and you figured that, hey, I can do this a little bit differently and make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell people CRNAs are kind of like a fraternity. They're a very small community of people. I think here in Arkansas, we have 800 CRNAs. I think now in the nation, we have 58 or 59,000. So I may know a CRNA, but not know someone up in North Arkansas or South Arkansas, but that CRNA I do know, they know that CRNA. So it's kind of everybody's friends with everybody, and word of mouth goes a long ways in this business. So that's really what's helped me succeed in the past 3 years.
Yeah. Now I'll say, I mean, it's one thing for, us to say, hey, someone should fix that problem over there.
Yeah.
It's another thing to find a real way to do it. So, I mean, you obviously started this from the ground up. We talked a little bit about just maybe getting started, but, you obviously have the connections on the CRNA side and the facility side. But when did it really start coming together and feeling like an actual business for you, as opposed to like, hey, I'm just networking with people and facilities, So how did you get started with really building that part of the business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So any business, especially starting this and anything that anybody's wanting to do, it kind of seems silly at first, and you're a little bit shy to actually put it out there, put it on social media. And say, this is what I want to do, but you just have to do it. So starting this locum agency, I ran it by a few buddies, some colleagues. And I think the first thing I did, I went up to them and said, if you were to Google locum jobs in a certain area, what would you type in? And they said, locum CRNA jobs or CRNA locum jobs in Arkansas or wherever they were planning on going. So boom, there's the name of my company. I wanted to make sure that people knew what we did and who we are. So I said, well, let's name it CRNA Locum Jobs. And next step, I had a buddy who made and created websites. So I called him and said, hey, I'm starting this agency that's going to be CRNA specific, and it's going to be owned by a CRNA, and kind of gave him an idea of what I wanted. So he worked on the website and talked to some attorneys and got some contracts going and started making some calls and networking with more CRNAs. Obviously, with any business, the first contract's the hardest to get. Mm-hmm. And we got that first contract and snowballed it from there.
That's cool. That's cool. So how long did it take for you to, I guess, file your business, and from the time you did that to actually getting your first contract and starting your first contract?
Right. So this was January of 2019. I filed it, started working on social media, working on contracts and working on the website. It probably took 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. And this was just doing it 1 or 2 days a week. And come April of that year, so 3-4 months down the road, we went live on social media. And I still remember I posted a picture of propofol and said induction day for CRNA Locum Jobs. And so that was late April, and started posting 2 to 3 times a week. And in June, July, started making some good contacts with facilities. And actually August of that year, placed 5 or 6 CRNAs at a couple of spots around semi-rural Arkansas. And it kept growing from there.
Cool. So now one of the things that I think maybe keeps people from really looking into locums jobs is just, they don't know what some of the benefits are, where the flexibility lies in it. Maybe they're afraid of taking that extra step that's out of their comfort zone. But I'd love you to speak to the benefits of working locums, and maybe one of the biggest myths that you've heard about the locums environment.
Sure. So I get calls all the time from people wanting to dip their toe in the water or thinking about doing locums. And one of the biggest things I always hear is the job security. Is there job security? Well, technically, there's not, but there's always work out there for anesthesia. Now, can I tell you that there's going to be work 15, 20 minutes from your home for the next 10 years? No, but there will always be needs for anesthesia providers. And this market's super hot right now, and it'll probably be that way for the next 3 to 5 years. Not sure what's going to happen after that, but you will always have work. And I think that's one of the biggest and hardest pills for CRNAs to swallow, is making the leap from a W-2 job to 1099. And as far as the benefits, obviously higher paying jobs, flexibility. If you make your schedule out 4 to 6, 8 weeks in advance, you can say, I don't want to work Monday, Tuesday. I don't want to work Friday. I don't want to work Monday. You can pick the shifts you want to work. And obviously it helps making more money. People can reach their financial goals a lot sooner working locums than they can W-2. And also with 1099, as far as a tax purpose, you have so many deductions to help you with those taxes.
Yeah, we definitely, I started my 1099 several years ago when I transitioned from W-2 to 1099. And I think that was one of the things. It's just, you're kind of flailing around, which, one of the other folks that's been on the podcast, Alicia Quante, has her 1099 Success Academy. And, she's trying to help people streamline the process of going 1099, which is really helpful. What are some of the things that you wish people did know about working in locums that maybe they, don't expect, or, they don't realize again, the benefit of that, maybe a couple of years later, they're like, oh man, I totally missed this opportunity,
That's right. Yeah. So I think people are most scared about going to do anesthesia at another facility. But at the end of the day, you know how to do anesthesia. Mm-hmm. You do anesthesia 40 hours a week. You can do it at another facility and get paid more for it and have the flexibility of the 1099 schedule and also the tax deductions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that the tax deductions are a huge thing, for sure. Particularly when you start talking about the cost of going to and from a workplace, because working 1099, you have a chance to set up your office in your home and all those kinds of things. But that's almost a whole other episode to talk about all the tax implications of this stuff. But I'd love to get back to your company. So, we talked a little bit about the chicken and egg problem, having CRNAs and having facilities, which one do you get first? And, but I'd love to know more about some of the challenges you faced with getting the company off the ground, both early on and as your operations have expanded.
Yeah. So I was new to the anesthesia world. That was when I was 3 years out of school. And so with any business, I learned really quick, you can't do it alone. And I found some great CRNAs to consult with me and help recommend other CRNAs and pretty much help coach me through some things. And along the way, I've had and found some really good CRNAs, and we have 3 team members currently. And those guys we have one in Kansas City. He does a lot of the Midwest stuff along with another guy in Ohio and another guy here in Arkansas. He does most of the South and takes care of those assignments. But it's really great to always have strong members on your team, but they are hard to find. So that's one of the best but hardest things about a business, is finding really great team members.
I love that answer though, because it's, people don't think about that. And that's the entrepreneurial part of it is, hey, you have to kind of put yourself out there. You have to put the money out there and then you wait. You wait. And then you wait some more, and that's the way that these things can can work sometimes. So the transition here from, the different areas you have people in. So I'd love to know where most of your locums jobs are, or like, is it all over the country, or you got places in Florida and New York and Oregon, and, what are we talking?
Yeah, right now we are in 11 states actively.
Okay.
And since we started this thing, we've placed over 150 CRNAs. So we're mainly through the Midwest and South right now, still working on getting some things going on the West side, West Coast, and also the East Coast. So maybe in a few years when we talk again, we'll have those areas and sites opened up, because it is difficult for me. We get a lot of exposure on social media and other places, and we'll have people email us about jobs in areas that we don't have. And that's not something I like to say is, no, we don't have something in that area, but we continue to work hard and network every day to try to get more and more sites and have more jobs for CRNAs, because at the end of the day, it is about the CRNA and our colleagues to find them better jobs and to give them new opportunities.
Well, I have to give you kudos. I mean, this is a short period of time that you've really grown your business in the middle of a pandemic, and now you're covering 20%, of the states in the country. So that's really impressive, man. That's really cool that you guys have been able to accomplish that. So, Michael, when you're starting a business up, it's important to think about what your values are with regards to that business. So what are some of the core values of CRNA Locum Jobs as a company?
Right. Yeah, I think myself and the 3 team members with CRNA Locum Jobs, we stand by persistence, authenticity, and compassion. So persistence, this is something we work on every day, morning, night, weekends, holidays. We're always working, trying to move CRNA Locum Jobs forward, trying to find new sites, network with whoever we can, whether that be CRNAs or facilities. And authenticity, I'm a CRNA myself. I have no entrepreneurial background. I don't have an MBA. I started this thing, and I'm a CRNA just like everyone else out there. And just like the locums that we've placed places where me, Clay, Garrett, and Shelby, those are the 3 other guys that are on the team. Those guys are all CRNAs working full time too. And then we talk about compassion that kind of is looped into the authenticity part. We're CRNAs, so we know how it is to walk into a new facility and not know anyone where anything is. So what we do is when we place CRNAs, we'll have them get hooked up with a chief CRNA, or we'll have other locums that we have there share their numbers or with other CRNAs, just to make them feel comfortable and make them feel like they're not alone on their first day.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So we talked about the people that you work with in your business, your 3 partners, and we talked about the CRNAs that you work with and all the facilities. What is it that's really helped you guys to be successful in this endeavor? Is it all of the above? Is it mainly the people, or is it what is it all about for you guys?
Yeah. So social media, I'll briefly speak on. Social media is great for any business, any company. It's been amazing to be able to list a job, advertise a job, or even connect with any CRNA around the country with the click of a button. And more importantly than that, it's been the CRNAs in general. We've been really lucky to recruit and have placed some amazing CRNAs. And I still think in today's world, the best advertisement's word of mouth. And luckily, we've placed these guys and they've represented our company so well, and facilities see that. And then those CRNAs also talk to the other CRNAs there and their friends, and that helps us get more business. And also, us being a small firm, we're able to offer higher rates than the bigger companies, and we have a fraction of the margin that any of the large companies have in this industry.
Well, I think that's important because when you're offering a better experience and better pay and all of these things that people talk about wanting, word of mouth is really going to travel fast for you guys.
Yes.
You guys won't have any problems filling positions, and that makes the facilities happy. That makes the CRNAs that you're working with happy. So man, that's an awesome thing to hear about.
Yeah, we can't thank those guys enough.
But you talked about expanding and doing other things. What are your plans for 2022 and beyond?
Yeah, keep the ball rolling in 2022. There's still COVID, and that can be difficult for any entrepreneur or business, but we've been working through it, and COVID's been difficult on families, kids going to school, healthcare workers. It's just been a difficult time, but luckily, they do need anesthesia providers, and they need them everywhere. So we'll keep making calls, keep making connections and networking, and hopefully open up more and more sites and help these CRNAs venture out into the new world of 1099 locum jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what else, anything that you'd like to say to folks out there that are maybe on the fence about going locums, or, they just don't know how to get started? What's some advice that you have for those folks?
Yeah. So I talk to tons of locums every week for the last 3 years, and I can tell you that not one locum CRNA I've ever spoken to has said they regret doing it. The number one thing they say is they wish they would have done it sooner. So once you make the leap, you don't regret it. You have, like we talked about earlier, the flexibility and the tax benefits and the financial gains to really do something you want to do, and you're not bogged down with the same W-2 job week to week.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool, man. Well, I absolutely want to give our listeners the opportunity to learn more about you and CRNA Locum Jobs. So how can they do that, Michael?
Yeah, Bobby. So we're on Facebook at CRNA Locum Jobs. We're on Instagram at CRNA Locum. And we have our website, which is crnalocumjobs.com. Also, if you have any specific questions, whether that's wanting to jump into the 1099 world or get into locum jobs yourself, you can email me at michael@crnalocumjobs.com.
All right. Well, it's been a real pleasure to have you here today. Best of luck to you and your business in the future, Michael.
Thank you, Bobby. Thanks for having me on. And I want to thank all the CRNAs and everybody that's helped me get to this point and help CRNA Locum Jobs get to this point. You guys are great. And I appreciate you and your business, Bobby.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yes, sir. Take care.
What I appreciated about Michael and his approach is that it is really about the people. He's laser focused on providing great opportunities for CRNAs, and his perfectionist attitude helps him turn that goal into a reality. As the pandemic drags on, more and more healthcare providers are looking around and wondering if there's something better out there. If you've ever thought about changing your work lifestyle, then I would definitely recommend reaching out to Michael and his team to see what's available. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Be safe and take care of each other out there. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. If you haven't already subscribed and reviewed the show, I'd be honored if you took the extra time. It really helps to expand our reach and get the word out about the show. If you're a CRNA who is interested in sharing your story on our podcast, I'd love to have you. Please email me at bobby@oncallinvestments.com for more information. This episode was brought to you by On-Call Capital. They are dedicated to helping providers like you develop passive income and generational wealth through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. Feel free to check out their website at www.oncallinvestments.com and subscribe to their free educational email series. You can find On-Call Capital on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also check out our YouTube page, where you'll find all of the show episodes along with other educational videos. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.